Sometimes life has to stop in our tracks before we start truly living. For Allison Pazuk, that moment came with an ovarian cancer diagnosis, a turning point that shifted her from living an autopilot to embracing a life of faith, purpose, and presence. Today, we explore how hardship can become a doorway to deeper meaning and how faith can guide us when the path ahead is uncertain. So, welcome, Alison. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you so much, Trey. I really appreciate you having the show and having me on it.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And, Alison, you have described your pre diagnosis life as robotic. So, what did that look like for you on a daily basis?
Absolutely. I literally felt like I didn't exist. I was a robot. I was a high school math teacher, and I would wake up every day, go in, do my thing, teach. And I know that I was a great teacher and I know that I've inspired and touched a lot of lives. But internally, I just had no feeling. I just every day was exactly the same. It was like that movie Groundhog Day over and over. And I ended up just armoring up and saying, oh, well, I guess this is life. Here we go again. Um, so yeah, it was me searching for purpose and recognizing that I was here on this earth for something far more than what I was doing.
Yes, and thank you for sharing your story with us. It really needs a lot of courage also. And looking back, were there signs that you were running on empty before cancer?
Yes. Yeah, actually there were. The more that I look back on it, it was a lot of stress and every day having your immune system attacked. As we all know, schools are like a petri dish. And so every day having that immune system attack, every day feeling stressed and feeling on edge. I won't say that I was in flight mode, but it was more fight mode. I was always armored up, always would walk around with my fists clenched. Um, and it was it wasn't until looking back that you can recognize these signs. Um, and just knowing that life had so much more depth,
Mm.
I just internally knew that there was something more to life than what I was experiencing. There was way more than just the stress and the media and the all of the feelings being shoved down every single day into a life of non-existence. And I wasn't living, I was just existing.
Yes, that's so powerful because so many people mistake constant motion for truly living. And receiving a cancer diagnosis is life altering. So, what was the first thought or feeling that hit you when you heard the news?
I'm just gonna back up a baby step before I answer that question. So I again was teaching and I knew that there was something more. Then I was introduced to being an entrepreneur and a business owner and real estate investing. So I ended up leaving teaching early and stepping into this and thinking this was amazing and heading into that entrepreneurial world. And it was the perfect timing. And I was making more money in a month than I was my entire year of teaching, and really feeling that the status was my new way to live, and the being busy, as you mentioned. I was heavily buying into sleep is overrated. You can sleep when you're dead. Bad advice. Don't do that. Uh, then then the market turned, and I laugh now, but at the time I was not laughing. We ended up owing $2.7 million to hard money lenders. and having to navigate that. So we were starting, my husband and I were starting to get ahead of that, and recognizing that we can do things to be able to get out of that scenario. My ego took a massive hit at that point. And then the following year, that was when I kind of knew something was wrong physically. I was training for a marathon. I was doing CrossFit, and my massage therapist actually hit something when she was massaging me, and I just was in such pain. And that was the first inkling that, hey, something's not right.
Mm.
And I'm in Canada, and so we essentially pay for our healthcare system with time. So it took a long time to be able to get that diagnosis. And when the diagnosis came, after being through everything that I had been through, and there's other pivotal moments throughout my life that I'm not going to get into at this point, honestly, my thought was, okay, here's something else. What am I going to do to fix it? It was not a feeling of terror, which is really kind of strange at that particular moment. So that's the way I was feeling when I was first given the diagnosis. Even that was interesting. It wasn't like in the movies where you sit down and the doctor says, I have news for you. It wasn't anything like that. I was actually in the ER where I had spent 8 hours just to be able to get all of the tests in rather than waiting and waiting and waiting. And the ER doctor came in and he said, well, you're feeling the way that you are because of your cancer diagnosis. And I went, wait, what? And he at that point recognized that I didn't even know. So his demeanor completely changed. In that particular instant when he said it, and I could see the color drain from him when he realized that I didn't know. And my first instinct was, oh my gosh, I have to make him feel better. He didn't know. It was just, it's a strange thing when you look back.
Yes, this is like, I mean, the way you explained everything is it's really beautiful. And how did that moment shape the decisions you made afterward?
Great question. So what I did at that point is I said to myself, well, here we go. Here's something else. And I was a math teacher, so I was looking for statistics. I was looking for all of the indicators for what the survivors did. I wanted to know what path they took, but I couldn't find anything. I didn't even understand what cancer was. There was no one in my family that had ever experienced it. So I started to dive heavily into researching, what is cancer? How does it grow? What does it mean? And again, I couldn't find the survivors, and started recognizing that doctors in clinical trials are for, as hard as it is to hear, is to promote their business and to keep track of their business. So once you get into the longer term survival, they don't track you anymore, which is kind of tough. So I did manage to find, thank you to Dr. Google and YouTube and Amazon, I started finding books and videos on what survivors were doing. And I then made that decision. And I mean, a decision is just when you cut something off. So I made that decision that I am an outlier. I am not a medical statistic, and I will survive, and this is what I will do. So radical changes to my lifestyle, radical changes to my diet. And at this point, because I know that the flavor of the podcast at this point, I was doing some meditation. I was believing in the universe, but that's as far as I ever went with spirituality. until I had a pivotal moment a little bit later on, which I'm just going to let you ask uh, the
Yes,
next question before I jump ahead.
yes, yes. It's really incredible how one sentence from a doctor can rewrite the entire script of life. And before that, I want to ask you that where did faith enter into your healing journey?
And that's a perfect question. Again, I was meditating, I was following Dr. Dispenza, visualizing the future, feeling that, and recognizing that your mind is in control of your body, that thoughts become things. And I started looking for synchronicities, and I would say, oh, look, the universe did this for me, and the universe did that for me. And um, then it was I was asked if I wanted to be part of clinical trials. I asked the one in particular was whether or not I was going to have a laparoscopy or a full surgery. Can't remember the medical word for it. And the laparoscopy is just the little one where they make a little incision and they put cameras in and to do the surgery, the full hysterectomy. And how am I going to make that decision? And so, I mean, I obviously was hoping for the smaller one, but what if I did the smaller one, they wouldn't get everything? So I was back and forth with these conversations in my head. And at that point, I just felt this nudge of just surrender. Just surrender. The universe will provide the right decision. And it was just this feeling of, wow, I don't have to make a decision. The right path will happen for me. And so I just relaxed, let that happen. And I was to find out shortly before the surgery, but that a month or so in between when I was going through the chemotherapy, I was in bed one night and all of a sudden I woke up instantly as if someone had thrown a brick through the window. And my heart was racing. And I live in a small town, like, no one would be throwing a brick through the window. And all of a sudden I heard this voice, and it was a man's voice. And he said, Allison, Allison Pazuk, are you present? And of course, I'm like, what the heck is this? Here? And then the same voice said, your miracle has been granted. And I felt this flush from the bottom of my feet all the way up to the top. And I had the most restful sleep after that. I was relaxed. And from that point on, I knew that no matter what happened, that I will be a long-term survivor. I planned my 110th birthday, which is in 54 years from now. And it's that I just know that I am being guided, I am being led. And from then on, I've started reading the Bible. I'd never read it before. And recognizing that every single book that I've read on personal growth, every self-help book, every Napoleon Hill, everything is written about in the Bible. And it was a huge leap into the new world, shall I say.
That is really inspiring. And before that, we were talking about the pivotal moment of your life. So, can you say more about that with our listeners?
Sorry, with pivotal moment?
Yes,
That particular voice in the night was a huge pivot. Uh, you know, how many people hear that? I had a life coach at that particular time who was fast becoming a really good friend. And when I woke up, I didn't want to say anything to my husband, like, this is kind of weird. I'm hearing a voice. I'm told my miracle is granted. So I reached out to my friend because he is he says that we're God friends. He drops the O in good, and he says we're God friends. So I said to him, listen, I had this experience and I heard this voice. And he just smiled and he said, who was that? And I said, I have no idea who that was. And he goes, oh, yes, you do know. And again, I had no background in faith. So it was, well, I don't know. Was it God? Was it Jesus? Is it the Holy Spirit? Like, I have no idea. And he just said, oh, you know. And he just left it at that. And from there, I just was digging in. And of course, I was like a curious child, really and truly. It's just I had so many questions and I wanted to know more. And the next thing, which people are going to laugh at this, it's a typical Allison curiosity, though. I said to him, I called him up and I said, is there an org chart in heaven? So like in business, the organizational chart of a business.
Yeah.
He says, what are you talking about? And I said, well, when you pray, who are you praying to? Does like the Holy Spirit and
Mm.
Jesus and God, do they have different roles? Do they manage things? Like, surely God can't do everything. And he just laughed at me and he just said, you know what? You'll figure it out. And yeah, so it was a huge pivot into a brand new world.
Yes, that is so beautiful. I think faith often becomes the anchor we didn't know we would need until the storm hits. And
Exactly.
were there any specific practices or rituals that kept you grounded?
The meditation, and I still meditate every morning, and journaling. And when I'd have questions or if I was worried about something, I would write it down and then I would meditate on it. And uh, really, it was early forms of praying. And now I also include praying in that, but the vast majority of my praying is thank you. I'm grateful for everything that you've put in my path. I'm grateful that I had cancer. I'm grateful that I was redirected. And, thank you for making my path to my appointment take longer than was expected. Who knows what I was avoiding? And just recognizing that everything is happening for me, not to me. So in terms of, just going back to your question, in terms of what rituals type of thing that I was doing, what patterns, it was the meditating, focusing, appreciating, and speaking to a higher power.
Yes, this is so beautiful, and thank you for sharing this with us. And for someone who is listening and who feels trapped in their own robotic life, what is one small step to start living with more presence today?
That's a huge question. Wow. Good question. I would, reflecting back, I think the best thing is, for me, it's nature. Everybody's different, but find your place where you can quiet your mind. For me, it's nature and animals and grounding yourself. And when you're there and you can quiet that voice, listen to your inner voice, listen to the nudges, um, and do it a couple times. Do it. It might take 6 months. It might take a year, but don't force the future. Don't say, well, I've got to find my passion. What is my why? Those questions used to drive me crazy. Just listen. And the same thoughts will keep reappearing. Your unconscious mind, your soul will speak. It's just whether or not you're listening.
Yes, I love that because true change often starts with a single intentional choice. And this is a wonderful conversation with you, the way you shared your experiences, your knowledge, your stories with raw and unfilteredness. This is really, really great. And thank you again for joining us and sharing with us so much. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best?
The best way is I have written a book on my journey. It's called Going Bonkers with Cancer. It's recently published. The best way to get in touch with me is through my website. So it's my name. Please make sure there's two L's, ALLISONPAZUK.com. And on there, they'll be able to find out more about me. They can contact me directly. I'm the one who answers all of the emails and looks at the contact forms.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all the details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you and know more about you because you're a wonderful person and you're a brave lady, truly.
Thank you so much.
And to all my listeners, Allison's story reminds us that life's hardest interruptions can also be its greatest invitations to slow down, to listen, and to live with heart. If you have ever been moving through life on autopilot, maybe this is your call to pause, realign, and step into a life that feels truly yours. Thank you.